In this video, I am going to provide you with an example or a few methods you can use to roof this section of a house with composition shingles. And since this is a video that was requested by a couple of viewers who I believe didn't state what type of roofing, I'm going to go with the composition shingles. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we have the gap required so that we can slide our roofing shingles underneath the fascia and this rafter here, because we are going to need to remove this section of the roof sheathing. And I say that I have seen people install the roofing underneath here without this section available, and that can be done a variety of different ways also. So in this one here, we are going to remove this piece of roof sheathing so that we can fasten everything securely, starting with our roof edge metal. If you are going to use roof edge metal or drip edge metal, whatever you call it in your area. And then we will install our 1x4, and you can do this a variety of different ways. We are going to notch the 1x4 around the metal so that the metal can go underneath it. And then we are going to install our L metal. And this is 3 inches by 3 inches metal we're using. And then we will put our Z-bar metal on top, or flashing metal, and it will need to be cut to fit in this area. And I'll leave that up to you too, because this area shouldn't get wet from above, and that'll make more sense as we progress through the video. And you can see here how any water that was to get in this area here would go over the flashing down here and then off of the roof, and at least that's the general plan here. And even though I'm not showing the nailing, you can put one nail in here to keep this piece of metal in place. No nails on here if that can be avoided, and then no nails in this area here, and then you could always put 1 or 2 nails up here to hold the flashing in place. And the same thing with the roof edge metals. You can put nails on the top and probably space them out every 4 feet, something like that. And here I went ahead and put a block, and you don't have to. You can try and stucco this area with siding in there, do whatever you want. And even though I'm not putting paper behind here, you can put it back there, or you can just simply start over here, have your paper come up here where you can access this area a little easier. And I would make sure that you paint the bottom of the sheathing or whatever you're using along with this piece and the roof rafters. Paint anything you're going to have a difficult time accessing after you put the roof sheathing back down and fasten it securely to the building. Next up, let's go ahead and put our roofing paper on, and the roofing paper will go over the metal. And most manufacturer's installation instructions require the paper to be firmly secured, but don't over staple or nail any of it. Just use enough fasteners to keep it in place, because the roof shingles are going to hold all of this stuff together, or I should say the nails from the roof shingles. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the area underneath. And you can always cut this metal a different way to cover this up. However, I won't be going over that in the video. Feel free to leave a comment if you want me to make another video on that. And I probably will anyway eventually make a few different videos about installing sheet metal and how you can cut it to make it look a little nicer. Next up, let's go ahead and install our starter course of shingles. And this is usually comes in a roll, or you can cut the shingles to fit. And I like to have about a 1/2 inch overhang here, but anything more than that could actually be a problem. And that of course will depend upon the type of shingle that you're going to be using. And I would recommend reading the manufacturer's installation instructions for the starter course along with the roof shingles. And you can see the next step here will be to install a couple of roof shingles, and again per manufacturer's installation instructions. And you can see here where the front edge of this shingle is lining up with our starter strip. And after those have been fastened, you can install the next row of shingles. And again, hopefully you left enough space underneath the fascia board in the roof rafter so that you can slide these babies in there. And you can see here where we have staggered the shingles so that where they join up against each other, you have, according to the manufacturer's installation instructions, the proper distance, or anything above the minimum distance. So for example, if the manufacturer suggests 5.5 inches, you can go 6 inches. You can go larger than 5.5 inches. You just shouldn't have this gap any smaller than that. And this area here is a little tricky. You might need to modify it according to your project. However, we are going to go ahead and install the next shingles and make sure that they are firmly attached. And then we can go ahead and install our roof sheathing. However, keep in mind that you might need to make some modifications here like we needed to do. We needed to cut this so that the roof sheathing wouldn't be sitting on top of our shingles. And that will make more sense depending upon your project. And here's a view of what it would look like from underneath. And after we have this section done, we can go ahead and start on the next section, installing our edge metal. And I will leave it up to you on how precise of a joint you want to create there. And then you can install your roofing paper. And this would simply be a piece of roofing paper that would roll out and then come up into this area. So this is not two separate pieces. This is one piece of paper, and you're simply going to roll it up to the other slope. And then of course you can install the next piece of paper over that. And you can see here where once we create a waterproof, or should I say water resistant area here by lapping these roofing papers, we should end up with something that is going to allow the water from this area to drain away onto our shingles and then down off of the house. And this is usually the problem most people have. They can't visualize how this whole thing comes together. And hopefully by now you understand what's going on. And if needed, you could always reposition the paper. You can see here where we raised it up, and we have this paper here sitting on top of this shingle. And this is actually a method I like to do. However, you could always have it go underneath the shingle and then sit on top of the piece of building paper or roofing paper below it. And another thing you could do would be to install this piece of roofing paper first and then this piece of roofing paper if you think that's going to work out better for you. And some of the shingles might need to be cut a little different to make them line up with the other shingles also. My job won't be to provide you with every single thing you're going to need to solve every single problem on all of the roofs out there in the world. Yet hopefully it will provide you with a good start along with a fundamental understanding of something that might work well for your project. So after we have laid the paper down, we got it where we want it, we can go ahead and install our first shingle. And again, you could install this shingle first or this one first. Then we can install the next shingle. And again, these shingles can always go up higher too. I just have it stopping here for illustration purposes. So we've installed this one, and then this one goes on top. Then this one will go on top of that one, and then this one will go on top of that one, and you will work your way up the valley as long as the installation instructions I provided in this video will work with your product manufacturer's installation instructions. Next up on the list, I need to point out that you might have a problem with the overhang dimensions creating a problem for your shingles, and that's exactly what's happening here. If you notice, we're off just a little bit here. For example, I drew these in with a 6-inch exposure, so we have 6 inches from here to here, 6 inches from here to here, and we have about 5 inches from here to here. And even though I'm not going to go into all the details on that in this particular video, I do want you to be aware of it. So this could create problems for the roofing up here. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, let us know by hitting the thumbs up button or letting us know in the comment area.